Hey, this is Zacklog the Great. So, tonight I will be doing a first for my channel. This will be a reaction video. There's some YouTube channels I happen to like that kind of make this their bread and butter, so to speak. But I haven't done this before. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. If I like it, and if you like it, I might do more of these. We'll see. Now, the video I'm doing a response video to is, you could say it's a little out of date. It was put up a while ago. It's my opinion that anything that's worth saying is worth saying 6 months from now. Or 10 years from now. Or 100 years from now. Truth doesn't go out of date. And if what you have to say doesn't matter because 5 months have passed, then it didn't really matter in the first place. So, having said that, let's hear from Mayim Bialik.
Number 4, history is written by the winners. I grew up coloring pictures of pilgrims and indigenous people of the Americas, we called them Indians when I was a child, having this beautiful, joyous Thanksgiving meal together. There was corn and turkey and pumpkins and a cornucopia of stuff just pouring out on the table, everybody's having a great time. The truth is, European invaders came to this land, took it from the indigenous people, raped, pillaged, gave them all sorts of diseases, called it their own, and desecrated a culture. It is one of the grossest examples of genocide in recent history, and much as I don't want to think that Thanksgiving's about that, it's really hard for me to not think about that when I think about Thanksgiving. So I basically think of it as a harvest festival, and I leave it at that.
Okay, so Mayim has a real problem with the history of this country. She, says we're on, stolen land, and that the European settlers just committed all these horrible crimes and, genocide, and it's this just mass of horrors back in American history. And it seems to me that if she really feels this way, if this is a serious problem for Miss Bialik, she has the excellent option of moving somewhere else. Okay? If this really bothers her, that she's living on stolen land, the history of the United States, she has the fantastic option of just moving to another country. Imagine, for instance, the situation of someone who grows up in a wealthy family, very well taken care of, well-to-do, high social standing, big fancy house, private education, nice cars, everything. Okay, and then imagine that as this person approaches adulthood, he finds out that his family's wealth is based on his grandfather being a mob boss, that his grandfather made enormous sums of money off of drug running and and prostitution and illegal gambling, and had people killed, and and had protection rackets going. Now, if this young man had a genuine moral objection to this, had a serious problem with this, he would have the option to say, you know what, I can't change what happened, but I can decide not to profit off of this. And I'm going to disconnect myself, from these people, I am going to, leave this house and I'm going to strike out on my own. Or, perhaps for some reason that's not, not entirely practical, not possible, I don't know, imaginably. Alternatively, this young man could choose to live a modest, almost monkish lifestyle. The money is still coming from all of this, but he is not taking advantage of it. He's living as quietly and as calm and as inexpensively and as modestly as he can. Okay, that would be another option if this young man had a serious moral objection to where all this came from. And Bialik says, America has this horrible history, and that we're on stolen land, and it's just, this horrible moral crime. But she chose neither of these options. She did not choose to leave. She did not choose to go somewhere else. And she did not choose to live modestly and, monkishly in this place. She couldn't get out, so she chose to live as quietly and modestly as possible. She did not choose that. She's, a Hollywood TV star. I'm pretty sure in economic terms, she's living fairly well. Now, as I said, in her Thanksgiving video, Bialik attacks European descended Christians and characterizes them as these monster rampaging murderous rapine monsters. Okay. Mayim Bialik also clearly takes pride in her own Jewish heritage. I'm glad she takes pride in her Jewish heritage. I think that is a very healthy attitude. Okay? People should, feel proud of their ancestors. People should feel proud of where they come from, of their history. I wish more white people had the same pride in their heritage, in our history, in our ancestors, in what we have accomplished. Okay? So, Bialik takes pride in her heritage. What is that Jewish heritage? Well, let's see. Joshua 3:10. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and that he will certainly drive out before you the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites. Joshua 4:13. About 40,000 armed for battle crossed over before the Lord to the plains of Jericho for war. 6:21. They devoted the city to the Lord and destroyed with the sword every living thing in it, men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, and donkeys. Joshua 8:24-25. When Israel had finished killing all the men of Ai in the fields and in the wilderness where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day, all the people of Ai. Joshua 10:28. That day Joshua took Makkedah. He put the city and its king to the sword and totally destroyed everyone in it. He left no survivors, and he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done to the king of Jericho. Joshua 11:10-11. At that time Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its king to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put to the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed, and he burned Hazor itself. For those of you who are not familiar with it, the book of Joshua is one of the earlier books of the Old Testament. The Christian Old Testament is the Hebrew scriptures in their totality. Christians added to it, but the Old Testament were the Hebrew scriptures. And the book of Joshua tells about the Hebrews, the Israelites, invading and conquering the land of Canaan. The first half of the book of Joshua is all about Joshua leading the Israelites from city to city, conquering and destroying them. And the second half is the Israelites basically arranging, okay, what are we going to do with this land? How do we divide it up? Who gets what? And how do we relate to one another? And again, if you were not aware, the Israelites, the Hebrews, are the ancestors of today's Jews. Okay. So, Mayim Bialik's Jewish heritage. Now, if you are a Christian, as I am, or a religious Jew, you have to take the biblical account of this seriously, and you have to say God was leading the Israelites into this land, and they were conquering it on God's instructions, and what they did was effectively God paying back the Canaanites for their sinful ways. That Israel had become God's judgment upon the people of Canaan. Okay. If you are Christian or if you are a religious Jew, you have to take that account seriously. And I do. At the same time, these are the exact same actions that Bialik condemns, white Christian Americans for, that she excoriates in our history, and she says she cannot celebrate with us, and by pretty strong implication, she condemns us for. Okay, these are the exact same actions. In fact, frankly, they're arguably significantly worse. Now, if Bialik gets to take pride in her Jewish heritage, gets to take pride in, being Jewish, celebrate her ancestors, celebrate her heritage, then so do I. I think she should take pride. Okay. I think I get to take pride in my heritage. I think my sons get to be proud of their ancestors, of their country, of our heroes. And if her heritage is not a shame and dishonor upon her, then neither is mine. And as I said, if she has a serious objection to this country's history, she is profiting tremendously from being here. She is getting significant economic benefits from this country, which she says is built on stolen land. She has the excellent option of leaving and going somewhere else. Or perhaps this is all just noise. Perhaps she doesn't care about any of this history at all and just wants an excuse to bash Whitey. Don't think she'll ever see this, but Mayim Bialik, I'd just like you to know. It's okay to be Jewish. And it's okay to be white.